What's up, people? It's your man Herbal Lover reporting from your mama's basement. You know the deal. You know what I come to bring you. I come to bring you hot topics. These are all my opinion and my opinions alone, based on research, evidence, and observation. Not here to beat down on none of my Laker family. You know, all of us have different opinions, just different agreements. But at the end of the day, like I said before, we all got one thing that's in common. That's in common is that we all want to see the Lakers get back to domination, back on top. That's the whole thing in a nutshell, regardless of how much we disagree with one another. I love you just as much as y'all love me. That's why I tune in. But anyway, Paul George last night, he went 2 for 16. I think it was like 0 for 3 or 0 for 6 behind the three-point arc. 0 for 6. But he did 8 assists. Now, I want to share, he had 6 turnovers too. I mean, he started off with the turnovers. Now, I want to say this. And I know a lot of fans, especially Laker fans, because, you know, don't get me wrong, first and foremost. I want to make sure I make it clear. I did not say that I don't want Paul George here. I said it throughout the whole season and the season before. I say, listen, he's a free agent this year coming up. If he's available, we go after him. That's common sense, you know, because in the day, the Lakers do need a veteran player. Now, with that being said, my whole pitch to you is, I don't see Paul George as an alpha male. I never did, even went back in Indiana. You know, and before fans say, well, you know, he carried Indiana. How you going to say that, Urban? You know, they took, you know, they went to the, they went to the Eastern Conference Finals against, you know, the Miami Heat. And they took him to 7 games. But you have to look at who he had on that team at the time. You know, at the time he had, you know, he had George Hill. He had David West, who not too long ago left Charlotte, well, New Orleans with Chris Paul, and he was the number 2 scorer down in New Orleans. Then you got about Lance Stevenson, and you see what Lance Stevenson is doing right now against LeBron. Even though LeBron is having a good game, but psychologically, Lance Stevenson is getting in his head. You know, Lance Stevenson is one of them type of guys that's like a net, like a fly. No matter what you do, that fly just keep coming. That's what Lance Stevenson doing. He's psychologically messing with LeBron. And then you have Roy Hibbert. A lot of people don't talk about Roy Hibbert. But during those days with Indiana, Roy Hibbert was one of the top defensive centers in the league. And as a matter of fact, during that 7-game stretch in that series, it wasn't really Paul George who was the main threat. It was actually Roy Hibbert with his defense. And Roy Hibbert actually jumped from, he was averaging like 12 points in the regular season, and he jumped up to 17 in the playoffs, along with shooting 51% from the field, 2 blocks, and he was averaging 10 boards. But then the season after that, when that you know, that little thing came out about Paul George will be sleeping with Roy Hibbert's wife, or, you know, fiance, that's when everything fell apart. And that's when Miami kind of like beat them, I think, what, 4-2, something like that, the next year after that, because Roy Hibbert didn't show up. He was only averaging like 6 boards. Everything was down for Roy Hibbert, and Roy Hibbert was the anchor of that team. Roy Hibbert was, at that time, was the alpha male. Him and David West, they were the alpha males on that team. All right, and I can say Lance Stevenson as well. You know, Stevenson as well. Paul George is basically like, to me, he's like, he's in between alpha and beta male. Now we go over to, and then eventually that's when he got rid of the whole team. You know, most of all the players there, and then it became Paul George's team. And then after that, all Paul George, you get him to the playoffs, first round exit, first round exit. But now you go after, you look at him playing with the Oklahoma City Thunder. And the narrative is that no one can play with Russell Westbrook. You know, KD left, James Harden left. James Harden really left because of money issues, and, you know, he had a better opportunity to go in Houston to start. Reggie Jackson left, but we're not gonna talk about Reggie Jackson because he's a shadow of himself when he actually played in OKC. Oladipo, you know, people say, well, look at Oladipo. You know, Oladipo went to Indiana, and now look at him now. First, I'm gonna talk about Oladipo. Now, Oladipo, you look at him like this. When he was with OKC, he was the number 4th option. He was not the number 2 or number 1 option. All right, you had Cantier, I think it was in Cantier, and you still had Adams. So you had all those guys. They were actually, you know, utilized more than him. And then on top of that, Oladipo, when he goes to Indiana, Nate McMillan said he liked this style of play, that he became the number 1 option. This is the main reason why Oladipo is actually scoring more, because Nate McMillan, out of all the coaches, not so much the players, but the coaches, even if you go back to Orlando, he was the #1 option, but they didn't believe in him. He actually was like #1, #2 option, but they didn't believe him as such. First year out the college, yeah, they rolled with him, but they said that he couldn't shoot and all these other things. He's just like an athletic player. So over in Indiana, Nate McMillan trusted him, liked his game, and decided to go with him as the first option. Give him more of a green light option where, you know, like other players like LeBron James, Russell Westbrook, where these guys can run their own plays. Oladipo is a prime example of that, and reason because of that, he actually made the All-Star game, and he was averaging career high, I think, 23 points. Now, Russell Westbrook, I will not sit here and say that you know Russell Westbrook is not a problem to the team. Russell Westbrook, we all know he's an alpha male. He's going to do what Russell Westbrook want to do, but that's also based on the coach. How much the coach allow you to do it. But see, Donovan is not that type of coach. He's not a good coach. If you watch any game besides the Lakers, you would notice that in OKC they run a lot of ISO plays for the big three. Donovan does not know how to utilize them. That's the reason why KD really left the team. It wasn't so much Russell Westbrook. He didn't want to play with Russell Westbrook. He actually tweeted this and erased the tweet. He said he did not want to play for Billy Donovan. He did not want to play for him because he didn't like his style. Because when they got rid of Scott Brooks and KD were real close. That's why the Wizards picked up Scott Brooks, hoping that they can get KD. And don't be shocked that KD, you know, he's a free agent this season. I know he probably go back to the Warriors, but you never know. He might go down in Washington. You might be shocked. Some changes might be coming. But this is about Paul George. I don't want to get off track. So what I'm doing is I'm basically trying to hit all the narrative and all the deflection that most fans are trying to say. You know, well, you know, Russell Westbrook was the reason. We can look at that and say to a degree, but at the same time, Russell Westbrook allowed Paul George to do what Paul George wanted to do. He said in the interview, you know, before they got into the playoff, you know, he's going to do anything in his power to keep Paul George here in OKC. So what did Russell Westbrook do? He feeds him the ball. He feeds him the rock. Matter of fact, Paul George was the leading scorer in that series at 28. So Russell Westbrook was doing his job and getting him going. Nobody else showed up in that series. Nobody else. If you go down and look at the stats, these guys are taking shots. They're not making shots. The only one was making shots was Adam, Westbrook, Paul George. That's it. Nobody else showed up. Carmelo Anthony, they don't know how to use Carmelo because Carmelo doesn't fit that style of play. They were running a gun, and Carmelo Anthony is a half-court set player. So they did not use him. Instead, what he should have did is had Carmelo Anthony come off the bench with the second unit and allow to run the second unit. But instead, they want him to be on there with that first unit, which was stupid to me. But anyway, like I said, that come down to coaching. Now, Westbrook, I'll help Paul George get in the game. If you watch that last game, Westbrook was feeding Paul George. Paul George lost confidence in himself. It wasn't Westbrook. You know, everybody said, well, he took 43 shots. He took 43 shots because nobody else stepped up. And I keep saying this to people over and over again. Paul George did not step up. Paul George is what you call the in-between of an alpha male and a beta male. He did not step up. Westbrook took all the shots. He was passing the rock. People choose to pass it back to Westbrook. If you go back and watch the game, you will see where Westbrook passed the rock, they passed it right back to Westbrook. So they were all banking on Westbrook to take over, just like how it is with Kobe. Matter of fact, that last game against Utah, where all the players was feeding Kobe, even though they could have did other things, they fed Kobe. That's how I looked at it with this game. They were feeding Westbrook. They let Westbrook take over. Paul George lost confidence in his game. He went 2 for 16 and 0 for 6 behind the three-point arc. All right. He had 8 assists because he was he became passive. He didn't do anything on the defensive thing. So that's what our fans fail to realize because we consider him a two-way player, right? So in retrospect to that, he didn't do nothing on defense. They didn't do anything to contain Donovan Mitchell. They didn't do anything to contain him. You know, they let this rookie run all over him. Ricky Rubio only played like 7 minutes. He didn't really play at all. Donovan Mitchell actually killed them. And this rookie took over, and you got 2 veterans, and you let this one rookie just decimate the whole team. You got to look at that and put that in perspective now. The reason why I'm saying this is because there's a difference. I said this over and over again. When Paul George comes to LA, if he comes, because we never know what he might do. He might change up. He might sign one more year with OKC. We don't know. But if he comes to LA, the farthest I can see Paul George taking the Lakers, because this is the West and this is not the East, where during that time when it was when it was Miami and, you know, Indiana, there was only probably like 2 or 3 more teams in the East that were strong. Remember, because the East was weak for a long period of time. Matter of fact, this year right here is probably the best the East has ever been in a long time. Usually the 7-8 spot, they'd be hovering around 500. The 7-8 spot this year, you had a couple teams that were actually trying to fight for that last spot. The teams are more, you got to the point where the Philadelphia 76ers, who many don't talk about, is the team that I got picked to go to the final. But that's my opinion. But anyway, Paul George was given the green light by Westbrook. Westbrook tried his best to get Paul George in the game. At the end of the day, this was not Westbrook. So when fans said it was Westbrook because you can't play with him, this game right here proves it. It was not Westbrook. It was more Paul George. Paul George did not have the confidence. He gave up. And it's not that he gave up on Westbrook. He gave up on himself. So when another fan, I watched my man Dallin on his channel, he said that Paul George looked like he didn't want to play with Westbrook. To me, I totally disagree with that, because if that's the case, he would have gave up throughout the whole series when he was averaging 28 points. You know what I mean? When games where Westbrook didn't even show up, when Paul George did. You know what I'm saying? So I cannot agree with that and say that he gave up on Westbrook. That don't make any sense. Paul George gave up on himself. He lost confidence in himself. There's the same thing DeMar DeRozan did, I think, when he played the Cavaliers a couple years ago, when DeMar DeRozan went like 3 for 18 or something, 3 for 16 or something like that, and they set him down. The coach set him down in the fourth quarter because he didn't do anything. He wasn't doing nothing. That's the same thing you look at Paul George. That's why I tell people, at the end of the day, if you look at the last 4 teams, or you can look at the championships, the last 10, 12 years, you always going to have an alpha male and a beta male, or most likely 2 alpha males. More than likely, it can be more alpha males, because I can go on and on from Miami when it was Wade and LeBron. That's 2 alpha males. Shaq and Kobe, 2 alpha males. Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, 2 alpha males. You know what I mean? So I can go on and on. Even with Golden State, Draymond Green, Steph Curry, they're 2 alpha males. I know a lot of people might disagree with me on that, but I can't call KD an alpha male, only because when you leave a team that actually had the opportunity to beat a team that was the top team, and you go join them, you know, because why? Because you're not a leader to your team. When you call out somebody else and say all this switching and jumping on one team, making yourself strong, what happened to the old golden days, and you do the exact same thing, I can't consider you alpha male, because you're not leading the team. At the end of the day, Steph Curry is what leads the Golden State Warriors, and Draymond Green is the inspiration that keeps that train going. But me personally, I believe that when Paul George come to LA, and this is only me, if we get Paul George, the Lakers are only going to probably go to the first round. They might get to the second round depending on who they match up with. But that's the furthest I give them. The only reason why I say that, because right now, based on the young players and this veteran player, Paul George, and I'm not knocking Paul George, I like him, but he's not an alpha male to me. And a lot of players, a lot of our young players are still in between alpha and beta. I believe that Ingram and Kuzma will be the alpha males in the years to come. But I got Kuzma actually stepping out. And the only reason why I say that, a lot of people might disagree with me, and they say, well, Ingram is going to be the top dog and all that. All around, versatile wise, Ingram is going to be better than Kuzma. Let me make sure that clear. All around wise, Ingram is going to be a replica of Paul George. But Kuzma, if we keep him, it's going to be that alpha male. And the reason why I say this, and a lot of people say, well, Urban, think about it. Ingram is younger than Kuzma. Kuzma is 22. Ingram is 20. So Kuzma got a couple years on him. But let's be real. Ingram has 1 year up on Kuzma as an experience coming into the NBA. So he know how the likes of LeBron, Leonard, KD, all these guys play. He played with them the previous year. Kuzma never played against these guys, and still was able to drop 20-something points, still able to score a bunch of points, based on the fact that he never got any play called towards him. There was no play design at all. He created on his own. The only thing people can really beat Kuzma down with is that he doesn't play defense. That's the only thing. To me personally, he played defense just as average as any average player in the NBA played defense. I'm just being honest. If you look at, like I told people before, if you go back into the 90s, that was what you call defense. 2000, the early 2000s with Shaq and Kobe, that's what you call defense. Today's, the way the system is set up now, is a replica of the Phoenix Suns with Mike D'Antoni when they ran. Bunch of small ball, a lot of scoring, no defense. And that's what fans are seeing right now. And your top defensive team is still allowing over 100-something points. Where back then, teams like Tim Duncan and the Spurs and them, or New York, not gonna say New York Knicks, that's way back, but the Spurs and them were holding teams under 100 points, like 90-something points, if y'all remember that. So Kuzma, and plus you gotta keep in mind, I've been saying this over and over again, Kuzma was playing out of his position. He was small for a power forward, where these NBA players who've been in the league for years had built their body to a physical, had built their body up to the point where they're able to withstand physical abuse, besides, when they meet up with Randall. But the thing is that he still is not developed. You know what I'm saying? So they had him playing power forward against a lot of larger, older players. And these older players took advantage of it. But when you had him play small forward, you seen what happened in the last games, and I'm so happy that, and I ain't gonna say happy because I would never wish injuries on anyone, but it was beautiful to see that based on the fact a lot of players were out, we were able to finally see Kuzma at the 3 spot. And basically by us seeing him at the 3 spot, we got to see him play at another high level again. But going back to Paul George, like I said before, I don't think Paul George is an alpha male. I just think that he's in between beta and alpha. I told people over again, I said it in I think a couple of videos, or I might have said it on my Twitter feed, I don't know, I can't remember, but I stated that Paul George playing with Westbrook need to just pull him to the side, like, look man, I'm on the team with you, and this is during the regular season. Say, I'm on the team with you. You don't have to carry the team all the time. Look out for me. You know, you can speak up like Raymond Felton did in the previous game when they came out and won. Not, you know, I think the game when they won 96-91, I'm not too sure. When Raymond Felton came out and said, do y'all guys really want this game? You know, he went at him. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, you have, you know what I mean, Westbrook is an alpha male, but you got to control him. But that goes down to the coaching again. But that's, like I said, that's a different team. But Paul George, to me, is in between alpha and beta. The further I see them going, like I said before, is first round, second round, early exit. Now, I'm going to talk about LeBron. I'm still going to drop the LeBron video, but I'm waiting till this series between Cleveland and Indiana is over, then I can talk about LeBron. And I'll wait because I want to know the outcome, you know, if Indiana actually bumped them. I got Cleveland actually winning only because it's LeBron and LeBron, you know, him and the refs. So you know how that is. I don't get into that controversy, but you know how I am when it comes to that stuff. But Paul George, like I said, Paul George gave up on himself. Simple as that. He didn't show up in this last game. And my question to a lot of fans, and I'm not saying turn on them, because at the end of the day, sometimes different lights can change the way the person play. And I know in Luke Walton's system, Paul George would flourish in it only because it's a lot of ball movement. It's a lot of ball movement, and he's not one of those dominant type players. That's the difference between LeBron and Paul George. LeBron is a dominant type player. He needs the ball. Him and Lonzo Ball will not be able to coexist. I'm just going to say it right now, but I'm going to drop a video on that once this Cleveland Indiana game is series over. Paul George will fit better in the Lakers system only because of the ball movement, because everybody get to touch it. So that's a good thing. Plus with his length, so it's a breath of fresh air for Paul George. Now that's only if he decides to come to LA, which would be stupid if he doesn't. Only reason why I'm saying that, nothing against Russell Westbrook, but you have a better opportunity with the LA Lakers and his young core players than you will with Russell Westbrook. That's all I'm saying. But I don't see him as an alpha male. I see him as an in-betweener. I see Kuzma and Ingram as those type of alpha males that's going to step up and probably surpass Paul George. It's mainly Kuzma scoring wise, you know what I mean, because he has it down packed already. Ingram is going to be most versatile than Kuzma only because you can see him. He can play defense, he can play offense, he can bring the ball down, he can play point, and he can play small forward, shooting guard, point guard, and if he had weight on, he probably could play power forward. So that's why I say Ingram will probably surpass Kuzma as the utility man, because he'll be able to do more, but Kuzma will be that legit scorer. Now, and that's my thing. That's my thing at the end of the day, but I just want to, like, go back on a lot of things in the day, you know, saying that, you know, they were saying Russell Westbrook, you know, is the reason Paul George didn't do this and that. No, Paul George, you know, at the end of the day, beat himself down. You played 45 minutes, you dropped 5 points, you had 6 turnovers, 8 assists. You can't blame nobody but yourself. All I'm saying is that I do not, and I repeat, if the last game is on the line and the Lakers are in the playoff and we're playing the Warriors, whoever it may be, I repeat, I do not want that Paul George showing up in that last game. That's what I mean by alpha male. Kobe can go 2 for 16, but Kobe will not shut it down and give up on his team or give up on himself, however you want to call it, and allow himself to only score 5 points. He's going to put that team in the shoulder. He will go he will find a way to score. He will attack the rack. He will do something. He will not sit there and just take jump shots. He will go to the rack and draw fouls. That's the difference between the alpha and the beta male. He will find a way to make it happen. He will be an inspiration to his team. He will uplift his players, and he will have them players playing like they should be playing. Same thing with LeBron James. LeBron James don't have no one on his team. Please do not say Kevin Love. He has not shown up, and the only one stopping Kevin Love is Kevin Love, because Chris Bosh averaged 17 points when he averaged 18 back in Toronto. So in retrospect to that, three people. Wade still averaged 20. LeBron averaged 28 or whatever it would be, something like that. But he still found his way with Chris Bosh. So we cannot sit there and say, well, you have love. LeBron James is another player. Put the ball on his, put the team on his back. A bunch of players who, some of them never went to the playoffs. Some of them probably went to the first round exit. A bunch of young players, and LeBron carried that team. And right now they're actually looking at a game 7. There's a difference between Paul George and LeBron. LeBron is what you call an alpha male. But at the end of the day, like I said, Paul George does fit the Lakers team and the play, the team, and he just fit the team probably much better than LeBron. That's all I'm going to say. He fits him much better than LeBron because he's not that alpha male. So at the end of the day, they're going to count on him. They're going to look towards him for veteran leadership. But Ingram and Kuzma are going to surpass him. These are going to be the two that's actually going to be lighting it up, especially Kuzma. Ingram is going to it's going to be a replica of Paul George, but Kuzma is going to be the one that's going to be doing all the scoring. Probably next year. I don't know. It all depends on how Luke Walton, and that's another thing too. It also goes down to how Luke Walton coached his team. Because remember, Luke Walton is still young and still learning. So everything goes hand in hand. It's not just the players, but it's also the coach. Because then we look at Donovan with Paul George. Paul George only, he shot, like I said, 45 minutes. Donovan should have told Paul George, look, man, I don't care what you're going through. Get that confidence back. Take more shots. We need you. If Paul George would drop 10 points, OKC would have won this game and be going back to OKC. But instead, they instead they go to Utah and they lost. So, but that's just me. Paul George is not an alpha male to me. He's in between alpha and beta. But some people might disagree, but it is what it is. Anyway, this video is already long. It's 20 minutes in. I love you guys. Y'all have a blessed one. Well, it's probably more than 20 minutes, 21 minutes. But I love you guys. Have a blessed one. Y'all tell me what y'all think. Take care, and most of all, be safe out there.